The Folomov C2 is a very small EDC light with a very high 98 CRI. It's got a warm beam, magnetic tail cap, and USB rechargeable battery. For me, this might just about be the perfect little summer EDC when you're wearing like athletic shorts or something like that. Thanks to Folomov for sending this to me to take a closer look at, and let me show to you guys. As a reminder, guys, I do have Instagram, Patreon, Twitter. I've got a Facebook page as well as my blog. So if you haven't checked any of those out, make sure you check the description for links to all those. So instead of a box, the C2 comes in a small tin with foam inserts. So you can see here, it's got the logo and name engraved there, but that's it. Inside we see some extra O-rings, a USB cable for recharging, and then the flashlight itself with the battery pre-installed. It also comes with a manual here, and this is a pretty good manual. It's written nicely in English and really explains everything you want to know about the light pretty well. I'm not going to go through this here, but you can see the runtime chart. This light is made from aluminum and hard anodized in a satin black. Starting at the tail cap, it's magnetic, and I can see attached to a knife here. It's a pretty strong magnet, does a nice job. I can shake pretty good here and the light's not moving anywhere. So it's nice they've decided to put on a strong magnet. It also tail stands well, being a completely flat bottom. The sides here have just a little bit of milling added to them, really not much. If we look at the body, we've got two flats here where they've chosen to write the lettering for the light. Folomov EDC C2, and that's all the writing on the light itself. You've got just a little bit of milling on the tube too as well. Other than that, it is smooth. The body tube is small at only 19 millimeters. The button segment here grows a little bit, and you've got the button there. It's just a silicon button with a little bezel. It's got a couple of LEDs underneath there to give charging indication status. Green when it's charged, red when it needs charged. The clip is milled in place here and fixed. It will pull off if you wish it to. Looking at the head here, we can see just a little bit of teardrop milling there. Then the very head of the light, we've got this aluminum bezel. You've got the glass lens there. The reflector underneath has a light orange peel, and we can see the LED is pretty well centered. The clip here is fixed in a tip-up position, and like I said, is fixed rotation. This does allow you to put it on the bill of your hat, but this top point here doesn't have hardly any clearance room. So it doesn't actually go onto the bill of hat all the way. And the same is kind of be true for different types of pants. This won't go to its fullest unless you have on a very, very thin pair of pants. That's one place where the competition, I think, does a lot better on this light. Here is an Olight S Mini, which is a very similar sized light in length. And you can see how much more room this clip has in it. Or their newer style clip on the S1 Mini Baton, you can see does both arguably better. That said, this still carries really well in the pocket, better than a lot of lights. So this is a seriously small light. I'll put it next to a dollar bill here so you can kind of get size reference there. Very, very small. Put it next to a key. Again, really small. I measured at 55 millimeters in length, maximum diameter near the switch at 19 millimeters, minimum diameter on the body at 16 millimeters. Weight comes in at 31.7 grams with the battery and the clip, and the light's IPX8 water rated. I will also throw it in here next to a standard 223 round. You can see it's pretty much the exact same length. So this light does share a lot of common design features with the Olight S Mini series of lights that I've got pictured, but it's about 20 or 30% smaller in diameter. It's not revolutionary, but it's a design that really works well. For me, the C2 has proven a great summer carry as I'm wearing shorts and I want something lighter weight, smaller in my pocket, and the C2 fills that gap quite well. And it still has a decent amount of power. That magnetic tail cap adds a little bit of utility, but it only has tip-up carry, which will bother some people. If we look at base diameters here. The Olights use CR123s or RCR123s, and the Folomov uses a 14300 battery. So you can see the diameter difference there. That's what really makes that C2 for me carry a little bit nicer, just because it's smaller diameter. I'm a big fan of 14500 lights, and this is fairly similar in diameter to those. So the little C2 is running a Nisha 21A LED, and the tint is 3000 Kelvin, and it's an exciting 98 CRI. The beam has a hot center and covers about 30% of the beam, and you can kind of see that hot center there. I'll bump it one more up, and you can see even on my well-lit table, you can kind of get an idea what the beam character's like. This is a warm, high CRI light, which is something I like. I'll admit that warmer tints take some getting used to, especially if you have a lot of cool tint flashlights. For me, I'll always take a high CRI light if I can get it, just because I prefer colors to look more natural, and it's great for photography too. Folomov rates the light at a maximum of 400 lumens in turbo mode, 160 lumens in high, 50 lumens on medium, and 10 lumens on low, half a lumen on moonlight mode. It also has strobe, SOS, beacon, all at 160 lumens. Runtime here is nothing outstanding due to that 14300 battery size at 250 milliamp hours. It's just a really small battery in terms of both physical size and capacity. You can see here. Here it is next to a standard key. Again, just a super small battery. Part of that is due to the USB charging circuit that's up here on the top, and you can see the indentation here. So in my runtime tests, light was on for 65 minutes. Turbo is really only good for about a minute before it steps down pretty significantly. The next 30 minutes you get a usable amount of light, and the last 30 minutes is just above moonlight mode modestly. Low voltage protection kicked in at 3.08 volts. The light does have reverse polarity protection and thermal protection, and parasitic drain was measured at 2 milliamp. Tonight I'm taking a look at the Folomov C2. This is really a mini EDC light, and it does have moonlight mode of half a lumen, and you can just barely see it on the deck if I point the camera all the way down there. Next mode is low, 10 lumens, and you can start to see this is a warm beam. Next up is medium, and you can see this is a very warm beam, high CRI. This is about 50 lumens if I remember right. Bumping up at one more time is high at 160 lumens, and if I double click I get turbo of 400 lumens. Now this thing throws decently well. Remember, it's inch and a half long, so very short. It's a warm color. It's about 3000 Kelvin. But you can see in the plants here, and really on my deck, it really brings out the red. That's that high CRI. Does a really nice job with that. The front of it gets pretty warm. That's expected for something this size. You're probably going to really use it on the high mode here, or medium or low. This is plenty of light. If you need to check out your mailbox or something like that, check on our desk and our chair, this is really a nice summer EDC style light. You can see it cut off's pretty hard. It's got a little bit of throw in the spot. Just a nice little beam. Here is an Olight S Mini. This happens to be one of the copper models here, but you can see how much cooler the beam is. It's a different beam profile too on this. It's, if I compare it, this is the Folomov. I really prefer that warmer high CRI tint. It just is a little nicer. I like how the Folomov also throws just a little bit better. The Olight, of course, does go brighter when the battery's fully charged. Mine needs a bit of a charge, but the Folomov here in high does pretty well, and I can double click it up to turbo, and you know, it reaches my fence fine. That's more than a lot of little keychain lights can do. So overall, I really like this as a small pocket EDC. UI on this light is logical and straightforward. You've got low, medium, high, and then it repeats. So that was memory to where I was last. So here is low, push again, medium, and high. I can double click to go to turbo, I can double click again to go to strobe, single click to get off that, and I long press, you get moonlight mode. There is a lockout mode which you can activate by pressing the button 3 times quickly, and you do the same to unlock, so that's easy. Or for me, I just prefer just a slight twist to the tail, and that's mechanical lockout. It's easier and quicker, in my opinion. It's a very similar UI to O-lights. The main difference is on O-lights, you can, when on, you can keep holding and the light will cycle through different modes. This doesn't do that. There's also a tactical mode, which I think is a little silly on a light this small, but it does have it. To go between the two, you have to click 7 times from off, and it makes the side switch a momentary turbo if you press and hold. If the button is pressed quickly, it locks turbo on, and if you double click the side switch, you get strobe. For me, on a light this small, those just aren't really practical. I don't see the point of tactical mode on a light like this, but it does have it. The good news is the light ships in the default mode, which is where I think most people will leave it. Looking back at the battery on this light, recharging the 14300 battery is accomplished via micro USB port on its side here, and that USB circuit sits on top of the cell. It's got little red and green LED indicators when charging. I measured full voltage at 4.207 volts. Total recharge time took just an hour, and maximum charging speed I saw was 0.3 amps. I suspect this battery is being used here as more like a 14200 size cell, and with that last 10 millimeters here being the charging circuit. 14200 batteries are also much more available than 14300s from a quick search. I'm really not finding any 14300s online, but what I don't see that's an exact match is the 14200s that I'm finding are lower capacity. While I understand why they went with USB recharging speed, especially on a battery this small, to control it, it really does hurt capacity of this light. These O-lights that use the RCR123s or the CR123s have more like 750 milliamp hours, something like that. So quite a bit more power in not that much more space, but that's fairly common with cylindrical lithium cells. For me, the pros are I like that warm white high CRI. 98 CRI is just fantastic on an EDC this size, and there are very few lights that offer you this option. I really like the small size, and it was smaller than expected and carries really well in the summer pockets. And it's an easy to use UI that you really can understand. The cons for me are that pocket clip is pretty narrow, as I've talked about before, meaning anything but really thin pockets won't ride to the very top. It's not a common battery size. Folomov says at some point they will have additional batteries for purchase, but they're not there yet. And low capacity battery at only 250 milliamp hours. My conclusion is that the Folomov C2 is a hit. It's enough light to get me through an office day or light EDC use, but has enough power to do a few other small tasks. For anything larger, I'd really want a larger light by me in my home, car, or office. It's not a light I'd take camping or use for extended periods of time due to the small battery and capacity. However, I feel like this would be more useful than a lot of keychain lights out there. I love the warm, high CRI bulb. This is something that sets it apart from the competition, who typically prefers cooler white LEDs. My only concern is the availability and cost of replacement batteries. Folomov have said they will be available, but hasn't said when or for what price. Overall, it's a nice light with a very straightforward UI and a pretty affordable price. I recommend it for very small, lightweight EDC use. Guys, make sure you check the description below. I think I'm going to have a coupon for this one. If so, it'll be in the description. I'll also have links to all my social media, the Facebook page. If you're not a member, go join there. Instagram, like this video. I've got Patreon. You know the deal here. I'm not going to go into it anymore. And as always, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one.